Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly SBR Roundtable. We're back with a special show here, Saturday, second round of the March Madness tournament. I'm here with all my colleagues, the great group of handicappers as usual. Ed Feng, how you doing today?
I'm great, man. Been loving watching basketball. Just excited about life.
Yeah, how could you not be right now, right? Ian Cameron, how you doing today?
Doing great, doing great. We grinded out some profits in the first 2 days and looking forward to the next two. It's going to be another marathon session. Time to go after it.
Yep, 8 games today, 8 games tomorrow. Best weekend of the year. Drew Martin, welcome.
Hey, big man. Best weekend of the year. Can't add to that, man. In the middle of March Madness, loving it.
Donnie Right Side, welcome in. How you doing?
Hey, nice early start here to try to get ready for day 3, basically, of the tournament. Been a lot of fun, and I got to give some props to Las Vegas here, big man. They've been on point on some of these sides. A lot of fun, even if you don't have a wager, just seeing how these games are going to play out and who's going to cover.
Yeah, that's one thing we were going to jump into here, like right off the bat. The lines have been on point. I mean, fantastic throughout the whole tournament. Really great job. And one thing that Justin pointed out to me, and something that we've noticed, overs have been coming in at a crazy clip. I think you said 26 and 10 so far, which that's fantastic. 20 or 12 and 4, and obviously if you follow public movement and things like that, public generally likes to bet overs. Anyone have any thoughts on that? I mean, is this something we just continue to ride? I would imagine bookies aren't stupid enough to continue putting these numbers out there, but what do we do with these overs, guys? I mean, do we keep riding these?
You'll probably see a tax associated with overs as the tournament goes on. I think a big thing is we're getting a lot of good offensive shooting teams so far early on in this tournament, and teams that have not played tremendous defense either. And there's not a lot of venues here in this first couple of days that I've noticed that are cavernous for shooting. They're just regular, normal, basketball, hockey arenas, regular capacity. So it's not really affecting the shooting eye too much of a lot of these teams. That's resulting in a lot of high scoring games, lots of scramble points too. We've seen just a ton of games. Nevada, Iowa State's the game that sticks out to me. Looks like a dead nuts under. Scramble points at the end like crazy, tons of fouls. Teams just do not give up. They could be down 9 points with 10 seconds to go. They're still fouling. They're still trying to hold out some glimmer, some small ray of hope they can come back and win the game. And that's obviously making under bettors crazy, making over bettors quite happy. So I think all of those factors have led to this over trend that has developed here in the first 2 days.
Yeah, one thing I also noticed, like Mount St. Mary's was down 20 points and they were fouling in the last minute. Some of these kids, you got to wonder, what are we doing here? I mean, you're down 10 with 14 seconds left. Why are you still fouling?
Well, the greatest moment of their life, and might be for the rest of their lives. I mean, I get where it's coming from.
Yeah, but eventually you have to just give up. I mean,
what's that?
Eventually you have to just give up. It's not
true.
Mathematically.
I'll tell you the one thing yesterday on giving up there with Dayton not fouling with 5 seconds to go. Giving up made a lot of people a lot of money in that situation with Wichita State.
Sure, including myself.
And the big man, also keep in mind when you go down the games, it looks like all of them, Ian talks about a tax on the over. All of them are bet over the same except for the Middle Tennessee Butler game. That one's bet a little bit towards the under. So you're going to have to start paying a premium for these overs, especially on this stage with this much money. There's going to be the market's going to come together.
Ed, continue with your thought. I think we interrupted you there.
Oh, no, I'm just saying, these kids, they're in the NCAA tournament. They're on national TV. I mean, are they going to get that much attention the rest of their lives? I don't know. I'm just throwing out there. I actually love all these ideas. I have a bunch of data I can test whether this idea that, you're in the tournament, you're more likely to foul in the last minute. Do you end up going over more? I mean, that's something we can test.
Sure. I guess one obvious foul that shouldn't have been committed was in the Vanderbilt game, a horrible move by Matthew Fish-Davis. And look, we can say all we want. Oh, well, we feel bad for him. Blah, 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 blah. He's a junior. He's not a freshman. He's not a sophomore. He's a junior. He's played big minutes in Vanderbilt. That is a mistake you cannot make at a level of this height in a game that was very close. How do you not know the score? Listen, I can understand if it's maybe a center who doesn't control the ball much or something like that. But, I mean, you're the guard in a game that means everything to your school. How do you not know what the score is in that point? Obviously, maybe they should have coached them better to let them know what the story was. But I don't know how you make a mistake like that.
It's awful. And you know what? Language barrier is certain situations too. If someone's got trouble with English, you got a lot of players, international players that come over, play college basketball. I could sort of live with it if you've got that kind of mistake, with the language issue. But Matthew Fisher-Davis, a junior, he's got to know the time and situation of the game there. I'm sorry. There's nothing he can say in terms of, excusing himself for having that kind of mental blunder in the biggest game of your team's season. And now you're going home. Tough day for that guy.
Yeah, even just to go off that point there, Ian, I know a lot of pundits out there were saying, well, Vanderbilt didn't have any timeouts, and sometimes kids get caught up in the situation. So you're telling me kids on the team need a timeout and know every situation at every time? You have to know the score, especially in the biggest game of your life like that, down 1 or 2 points in the last minute. I mean, there's no excuse for it, and I don't want to hear they didn't have any timeouts and the coach couldn't prep them the right way.
Yeah, there really is not much excuse there. You feel for the kid. Obviously, sometimes during the heat of the game, you just kind of do stuff that that doesn't make sense sometimes. But yeah, I don't get that. It's a glaring mistake that ended up costing them in the game. Chalk has really kind of prevailed, guys. We haven't seen much in the way of upsets. One thing I was surprised by, and I think many of the panel was surprised by, most of us liked this team. What happened with SMU? I mean, obviously they lose by 1. It wasn't something that I think, it wasn't they lost by 1. It wasn't a blowout or anything. It came out to the last shot, but did depth finally catch up to SMU? I think it may have. Ian, what happened with SMU?
I don't really think he cares about us.
Oh, hold on there. There we go. We had a frozen moment there with the friggin' screen there. Just froze for a second. And you know what happened with SMU, guys, is USC started shooting lights out down the stretch. And SMU's defense, more than anything, just came apart at the seams. I mean, that was just a tremendous shooting performance from USC in the second half. I mean, I've not seen the Mustangs give up open looks at that. To that extent, the way they did against USC. USC to shoot 48% yesterday in that game against that level of defense, the way the Mustangs were really playing at that end of the court down the stretch of the season was really impressive. Benny Boatwright was big for them, 6 of 10, 14 points. Chimezi Metu, the big guys, they both got it done for USC in that game. Elijah Stewart was just insane, 8 of 15, 6 of 13. From the perimeter for him, 22 points for the Trojans. And then bad shot selection down the stretch. I did not like the offense at all that SMU ran late in that game. Terrible last second shot. Rush shot. Had no chance whatsoever. You got to get the ball to Semi Ojeleye. Where was he on that last possession? Why didn't they find him? Tough day for Tim Jankovic at the end. I thought there were some coaching plays that he could have done a better job with down the stretch there. But let's give USC credit. The talent has been there for the Trojans all season, but they had not put it together to a high level yet in any game in a long time the way they did against SMU. They're officially a dangerous team. And if I'm Scott Drew, I'm concerned with USC red hot momentum facing my team tomorrow on Sunday.
Yeah, I think USC deserves a lot of credit in this game. I mean, they are clearly a high variance type of team. I mean, they looked awful in the first half against who was it, Providence. I mean, they looked terrible. They're missing layups and things like that. And I don't know, maybe Andy Enfeld's just that kind of guy. That Florida Gulf Coast was clearly a very high variance team because they looked like the Harlem Globetrotters when they were making that run to the Sweet 16. And that was not the level at which they played at all year. Not the level at when they lost to Florida in that Sweet 16. So I don't know. I mean, I guess some teams just kind of show up at the right moment. Maybe Enfeld's a good coach for doing that.
Yeah, playing games continue to be good for teams. I mean, this is another year in a row that someone in a playing game wins a game in the NCAA tournament. SMU, look, the difference I think in the game was, and it's very small, but the difference was 7 points from the USC bench, 0 from SMU. That's the difference. They just had a little bit more of a bench, a little bit more bodies that could run at SMU. And I mentioned it, Donnie Right Side, a couple times. I hated this matchup for SMU. It's really, to me, USC was more of they were very similar to SMU. They're long, they're athletic. They can run with SMU. They can play slow with SMU. And they just had a little bit more fresh body at the end that could make a couple more baskets than SMU did. And like Ian said, the play drop at the end, I don't know what that was. It took way too long to develop. And Shake Milton had a nice game, but it's got to be in your star's hands at that point. Donnie, any comments? Drew, any comments?
Well, my sleeper just got put to sleep, so there you go. Bye-bye, SMU. See you next year.
Yeah, see
And then, big man, I agree with your play-in game. I mean, I know Cincinnati took care of Kansas State, but I was looking like you and the other guys on this panel to be betting on SMU, but going against the play-in winner, it just kept me off of it, and I'm glad it did.
Michigan continues to surprise, but kind of just continue to have this aura around them that they're not going to lose. They win again. They score 92 points. And I'm not sure that them scoring 92 points was surprising. I mean, Oklahoma State struggled defensively all year. But I know, Ed, you and I on the last roundtable, I personally talked about maybe the momentum had ended with Michigan winning that Big Ten tournament, kind of having some days to think about it and move on to the next tournament here. Michigan's just untouchable right now, it seems like.
Yeah, that was a tight game. I thought the first half was particularly interesting because both teams played defense pretty well. I think the game was like 10-10 after 10 minutes or something like that, which kind of shows you what happened in the next 30 minutes of the game. And then in the second half, we saw the game that we expected. A ton of points. Michigan was getting whatever looks that they wanted. And it was, you never like a team to just be reliant on three-pointers like they were in the second half, but they made just enough of them to pull out a one-point game. And I'm sure you guys all saw that gif of Oklahoma State beat the spread with that last-minute three in the Westgate.
Absolutely.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Michigan hit 16 threes. I mean, that's kind of something that's something they do. I mean, that's not something that's surprising to me about Michigan. That's just kind of their thing.
They had a lot of very good looks at the beginning of that second half, and the looks got progressively worse towards the end of the half, but they made enough of them. Walton hit that one from half-court sticker. So, I'm here in Ann Arbor. I don't like this Louisville matchup at all. I don't like the size of Louisville, and I don't like anything about that matchup.
Sure, that'll be tough. And again, I mean, at some point the Lux are out. Juwan Evans has been if you've bet against Oklahoma State, I mean, he's had a couple times this year where he's hurt bettors late in games. I remember a couple weeks ago against Iowa State in the regular season, he hit a three at the buzzer to backdoor as well. He's been a kind of a moose for a lot of people this year.
Yeah, that's a good basketball team, man. I mean, they can score, they can rebound. Defense isn't great, but that's a tough team.
Sure.
We're talking millions of dollars, by the way, that changed hands on that last shot. I mean, it was unbelievable. The sports books were definitely reacting to that Juwan Evans three going in at the end of that game. Michigan, let's give them credit for the way they played offensively against Oklahoma State, but I'll take the under 51.8% shooting in their game against Louisville. I don't think they're going to do that again against Rick Pitino. And that kind of full court pressure and that defense that he's going to throw at them. 16 of 29 as well for Michigan against Okie State from the perimeter, 55% shooting. Just 6 of 7 for Walton from deep. Duncan Robinson, 2 of 4 from deep. Moritz Wagner, 2 for 2. I mean, everybody was shooting well from deep. 3 for 6 for Abdur Rahman as well for that Michigan team. They're not going to shoot that way against Louisville. Much different class of defense they'll be facing. But the Michigan momentum here, very real, very scary. They're going to have to defend a lot better because they can't give up 54% like they did to Oklahoma State in that Louisville matchup. The size, Ed made a good point with that. Mangok, Mathiang, Mahmoud, those two guys stick out as guys that may give Michigan some fits in that matchup on Sunday from the Louisville side. I just don't want to go against Michigan right now with that momentum, but this matchup for Louisville will be considerably more difficult than the Okie State one was yesterday.
Yeah,
Sure.
and Michigan's never been a great rebounding team. On the boards in the championship game, I guess 4 years back. And I got a bunch of friends here, and you can't. Michigan really struggles at their backup post. So when Wagner gets in foul trouble, which he inevitably does, it's really tough. So that's another thing to look forward to is Michigan's foul trouble.
Yeah, they really haven't had a big since what was it, Mitch McGarry, I think. That was kind of the last kind of dominating player they had in the post. Yeah, it's kind of like Villanova. They kind of do the same thing. They don't ever really have a dominant big man either. Middle Tennessee State guys, the Darlings, they beat Minnesota. But was anyone really that surprised by that? I'm not sure most bettors or even people that filled out brackets were very surprised by that. They get the 12-5 upset. We'll get into some of the games today, guys. Keep in mind, feel free to drop questions. We have a lot of people on here. So, guys, not to kind of backtrack, but so does that mean you guys will continue to ride overs or not anymore?
Individual matchup basis is what it'll come down to for me.
Because I think kind of the reading through the lines was basically, guys, what they're saying is it's going to be more difficult to get the numbers that you were getting with the overs. There's going to be more of like a tax to what the numbers are. There's going to be a 2 or 3 point swing pretty quickly. And, again, you're not going to have as much value on some of those. And again, I think it was some bad luck as well. I mean, you mentioned, Ian, the Iowa State game. In that game and just some crazy things going on at the end. I'd imagine as the season goes on, games are going to become more important, and not that they weren't important, but they're going to be fewer possessions. The games are going to be closer, I'd imagine, as well. I mean, you had a lot of games yesterday. I think all other than Gonzaga, most of the number one seeds, Kansas, a couple of the other. I mean, couple teams hit 100 points. Arizona hit 100 points. That's definitely going to go down considerably, I'd imagine.
Yeah, big man. I mean, if you just look at today, I mean, styles make fights, so to speak. Virginia, Florida, St. Mary, Arizona, Wisconsin, Villanova, Middle Tennessee State, Butler, Gonzaga, Northwestern. They're more slugfest, walking up the court, run your sets than what you may have saw yesterday where some people wanted to get up and down the court. So I think times might be a change in today with some totals for sure.
Pac-12, 5-0 so far. They're looking good in this tournament. You got one today in Arizona. Lonzo Ball and the boys, they don't cover last night. I heard through the grapevine, and I was telling Donnie this. I don't know, Ian, if you heard this, but on VSiN, they were talking about they didn't take one Kent State ticket last night at South Point. Through all the bets, didn't take one Kent State ticket. And who covers miraculously? How about that?
Jimmy Vaccaro smiling, I am sure, after that result with Kent State getting through the back door in the final minute. UCLA doesn't give a shit at that point. They're thinking of the next game, and Kent State just slides on through in that final minute to cash for their backers.
Yeah, I was surprised. Well, actually, I'm not sure I was surprised they scored 80 points just because of the sieve that UCLA is on defense. They're going to have to get that figured out because I don't think they're just going to be able to outscore some of these teams moving forward. By the way, guys, I think we talked about it on the Selection Sunday show. The guy from the D that bet every NCAA game, the 32 games.
He ain't doing well.
Yeah, he ended up finishing 10-19-3, so he lost over $100,000. So great job, Derek Stevens. You did get a lot of press, I think, for the D, though. It's a nice job. Does anyone feel that they would beat Derek Stevens? I think I would.
Yeah, I think most people would have, yes.
Not a good performance. He did do decent yesterday, but that's tough. He put his money up. Good for him. Any other storylines, guys, that you're burning to talk about that maybe we didn't get to? I got to be honest. This tournament's been decent. I haven't been blown away by anything. It's really kind of been chalky for the most part.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my biggest storyline. We got 5 double-digit seeds alive. There's about a 20% chance that there's no double-digit seeds in the Sweet 16 by my numbers.
Yeah,
likely to happen, but still, like oftentimes at this point in the tournament, there's a 100% chance that there's a double-digit seed. So
yeah, it's definitely been surprising as far as you got to figure. I mean, Xavier's going to have a tough time in it today. There's a lot of chalk, and it's kind of been the theme of the tournament. Do you guys want to get into some of the games today, and maybe give some breakdowns here? Starting out here again, if you have a play in the game, feel free to pass. Notre Dame, West Virginia coming up here at noon Eastern. Obviously, it's going to be an interesting game due to the fact that I think most people will look at the fact that, West Virginia kind of allowed Bucknell to hang around and do their thing. But, West Virginia, obviously the press Virginia, they're going to look to kind of run their offense. But will Notre Dame be affected by that? We all know very high as far as I believe they are the best in the country at not turning the basketball over. They're a good foul shooting team. Anyone have an opinion on this game?
I think the matchups here are fascinating. Sorry, Drew. I do turnover rate adjusted for schedule, and West Virginia is the best at forcing turnovers. Not a shocker. Notre Dame is second best at preventing turnovers. So clearly something that's going to affect this game. Numbers slightly favor West Virginia, but that's not a surprise given the way numbers have been on this team all year.
Yeah, I think, and again, I know, Ed, you've had them pretty high as far as in your rankings, but I think we can all agree though in the half court their offense is average at best, maybe even poor at some points. Ian, Drew, any opinion on this?
Well, I actually talked about this for SBR Play of the Day. I'm going to save it for that. I'm going to tell people, watch the video. I put time into those, so go ahead, check it out. SBR Play of the Day for Saturday. We talk about Notre Dame, West Virginia. You'll find out what side my cash is on.
There you go. Good little plug there. Check that out.
Notre Dame, West Virginia in this instance. I always love to take matchups on its side. One team's not going to turn the ball over. The other team does like to turn it over. But more importantly, they're number one in the nation. Notre Dame, 79.5% as a team from the free throw line. Why is that important? West Virginia's going to be up-tempo. They're going to foul. If you watch the other night's game, St. Mary's and VCU, St. Mary's put the game away early at the free throw line. VCU was up-tempo, trying to force turnovers and fouling. They get into the bonus rather quickly, and that's a deadly combination in this one.
Agreed.
And just to break down this game as well, West Virginia on a short turnaround, I think is a really tough team to prepare for. But big man, like you said, and also Ed pointed on, Notre Dame just doesn't turn the ball over. So in that matchup, it's just something that's going to keep me off of it. But I was looking to bet West Virginia with only the 1 day turnaround.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a game that will be really interesting. And again, the next game against probably Gonzaga will be interesting as well. Wisconsin, Villanova. Villanova currently 5.5, over under 129. Does anyone think Wisconsin can pull the upset here?
It can happen, but I don't think it will, but it could. It's not a game I'm going to play. It's going to be a great game to watch for me. Not much of a betting opinion here. It's pretty short considering how Villanova is capable of playing, but Wisconsin can get up in your face defensively at times, and if they're knocking down their shots, and Bronson Koenig has shown signs that his jump shot is coming back to him, getting over that calf injury, I expect Wisconsin to be in this game. It's just a question of if it's 3-4 point lead for Nova down the stretch. Do they hit free throws and maybe extend late? But not a game I got involved with, but should be a great game. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, big man. I think we've been talking about this Wisconsin game even before this matchup was set. I definitely think Wisconsin can win this game. One thing that does worry me is their pick and roll defense in their first game was atrocious. It seemed like they had never seen this play before. I don't know what got into them. The big man. Their bigs were like back and I don't even remember who they were. Virginia Tech was getting whatever they wanted. They were getting switches. Probably a blip because they're defensively a pretty good program. I'm very excited for this game.
Yeah, same. I also look at the one thing that is really important in games like this. Look at Koenig, Showalter, Nigel Hayes, Vito Brown, all seniors. They know how to play these type of games. And again, I'm concerned, though. I don't like to back teams below 70% from the line. They are not good from the free throw line, and they're going to have to find a way to figure that out. I know Koenig, though, is very good, and I'm sure he'll have the ball in his hands and Showalter. But everyone else, I don't want the ball anywhere near at the end of the game. I think they can win. I said they're going to win. I think they will win. I'll take the 220 on the money line just because I don't think this is a good matchup for Villanova for some reason. Donnie Right Side, I know you're a typical Philadelphian. You think Villanova is going to win because it's Villanova. Is that why you like them today?
No, I just like Villanova overall pedigree in this one. The one thing I do agree with the panel in this one is Wisconsin and Villanova sort of do the same thing. Neither one looks to push. Neither team fouls. It's going to be one of those games where who can execute better, which I know, that's a blanket statement in that one. But coming down to the end, I think Villanova is going to have a little bit more with their guard play. The one thing Wisconsin is a little bit susceptible to is the three-point shot. So look for maybe Brunson, Hart, and Chris Jenkins if they can get hot to put a little bit of distance between them. But again, points are going to be at a preview. If you're going to hang a 5.5 or a 6 in this game, again, both of these teams are going to try to do exactly the same thing. I just think Villanova has a little bit more firepower on the end, a little bit more pedigree in this one to pull this one out.
And by the way, I'll put my money where my mouth is. If anyone wants to see my bracket, they can. I have Wisconsin moving on here. Next one. Don't be surprised if foul shot to the undoing of Wisconsin. Virginia, Florida. Florida laying 2 over under 126.5. I'm surprised by this number, to be honest. I don't really. I don't know. Florida looked good in the game against East Tennessee State. They kind of pulled away when East Tennessee State couldn't make a basket. But Virginia, I mean, well coached, great defense. We always know that. Why is this game not a pick? I don't really know why Florida's laying 2 points here. Can anyone talk about this?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I don't know why Florida's a 2-point favorite. Numbers ever so slightly favor Virginia, maybe half a point.
That's what I would say. I thought this line would be maybe – if anyone's going to be a favorite, I thought Virginia would be.
I guess maybe because the game might be in Orlando, maybe a little bit of a home crowd, maybe some home cooking for Florida in that one. But I don't have too much of an advantage either way in this game. Both these teams are just going to slug it out there. I always get scared of betting Virginia in these spots just because I need to see a little bit more offense out of them. They fell asleep at the wheel versus UNC Wilmington the other day. You can't do that against Florida because they'll just collapse on you right there.
Ed, you go ahead and continue.
Yeah, big man. I was looking to be on Florida, but you're right with them laying 2. But one quick point about Wisconsin and Villanova, in my opinion, that's one of these games today that has a premium on the total. It's up to 129.5 now, up 2 points. And keep in mind, these are 2 300 teams as far as pace. It's only projected to be about 59 possessions. So if you're looking to be a little contrarian, it might be an under bet on Wisconsin Villanova. I know that's tough to do at this point in the tournament, but it's probably the way I'll be looking.
Yeah, you might be onto something there.
Yeah.
They're not all going to go over. Just
I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I mean, Wisconsin, both these teams very good on the defensive end. Could it out, first one to 60 wins type of game. Guys, we got some questions here about the NIT. I talked in the NIT briefly yesterday on some of the shows that we did. It goes at 11 a.m. here. The point that I want to make here, Syracuse has been very good at home this year against the spread. That's been no secret. Obviously, maybe they have a little bit of chip on their shoulder by not getting into the tournament. But one thing that Andy Enfield and this group have been over the years is not only good against the spread, but as good against the spread as an underdog and on the road. Been very good this year on the road. For my thinking, I think this one comes down to the wire. I think Ole Miss is a team that they make a ton of free throws. They're going to keep themselves late in games due to that. They make 3-point shots, and Burnett is a great player. Saeed's a great rebounder. I think they have the bodies to hang with Syracuse in this game. Not really looking to bet on it, but early on here, I would maybe take the points with a team that is very good in the underdog role. Any of you guys have an opinion on that?
Yeah, the NIT right now, in terms of that tournament, you throw out now the disappointed teams. Syracuse, Cal. Syracuse is in it, but what I'm talking about is you throw out motivation and disappointment being a handicapping factor. Now that Syracuse and teams like that maybe were disappointed initially at not going into the tournament, now that they've won a game in the NIT, now your competitive juices and your energy goes up. Your competitive juices start to flow. Now you see a prize at the end of the road, which is a trip to Madison Square Garden, going to the NIT Final Four. And that's something teams want to do after they win that first game. So now you throw motivation out. Now you just go ahead as you normally do. You handicap the matchup with these NIT games, because I think as far as disappointment goes, teams get that out of their system after that first win. Now it's about, okay, we got some confidence back. We got some momentum. Let's try to make it to Madison Square Garden and get to this Final Four.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a game that matters here. Ed, Ian, Drew, Donnie, anything on this?
No, I don't have much on that other than Mississippi and Syracuse. I mean, just roll the ball out there. The NIT tends to always trend a little bit higher in scoring. Both of these teams are going to bomb away from 3, even though that number is quite a bit higher than what, I like to bet anywhere close to that 160 range. I just think both of these teams are going to be drilling it up from 3. Not too much defense being played here. I would lean towards the over in this one. I can see both teams creeping around the 80s in this one.
Okay, maybe an over. What else do we have here? Guys, let's just quickly talk about all these here. Florida State Xavier, 6.5, 151. Ian, I know you love Xavier. Do you have any opinion on Xavier here?
If I'm playing, I'm laying in this game. I want no part of Xavier. I think Florida State is athletically superior in all facets to Xavier. It's just about, is that IQ going to be there to close out this game the right way and do it a lot better than they did against Florida Gulf Coast for this Florida State team. But I think if Florida State's hitting their shots, getting the ball in transition, playing well enough defense, I think this could be the game where we see Xavier hit smack dab into a wall. They've had a nice little run through the Big East tournament. Give them credit for beating a flatlining Maryland team, and I don't give them much credit for that. Maryland was pathetic, I thought, down the stretch. Nobody stepped up to support Melo Trimble. The Tchaikovsky injury completely, I think, disrupted their chemistry. I don't want to give Xavier too much credit for that win. I think today is where the end of the line comes for the Musketeers. If I'm playing, I'm laying the 6 with the Noles.
Yeah, it's hard to back Florida State, though. I know, Donnie, you and I talked about that. I took Gulf Coast the other night, and I got to be honest. I mean, and Ian, I don't want to hurt your point here, but I don't know how you back Florida State. With some of their mistakes in the end of games, they're just not very smart as a team in general. I think it all goes back to their coach. Free throws have been a mess with this team, and they just, I don't know, for whatever reason, don't seem to know how to close out games. Anyone else have an opinion on Florida State?
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the game as a whole, I'm on the same agreement there. I mean, Florida State, clearly one of the most talented teams. And at this time of the year, you would figure having that deep bench coming into play in the NCAA tournament for foul trouble and, just being super athletic is going to play into it. But again, Florida State laying anything over 3 or 4 points right now, I'm not too interested in. If you just watched the Florida Gulf Coast game the other night, I mean, just dumb right up to the end. Forget about breaking the press and stepping out of bounds and, maybe hustling up, making the wrong play. Just the simple stuff. When you're up 8 or 9 points with about a minute to go, you're taking wild runs at 3-point shooters and fouling them. I just don't like the way they play when the game's going to be on the line. And if this game is a 1, 2, or 3-point game, as you said, Jeff, Florida State at the free throw line, not really that good. And can please somebody just fly down to Florida State and help Michael Ojo, who's 6'10", 680 pounds, underneath the rim, just dunk the basketball, big man. Come on.
Yeah, I can't stand that. That's one of my biggest issues with college basketball nowadays is in practice, all we see is how great they can dunk and how all they can do all these moves. But when it comes down to the game, they lay the ball up every time. Half the time.
7-1, you're under the rim against a 6'8" or 6'7" power forward, and you're doing reverse layups on the other side of the backboard.
Isaac Haas is 7'10", and around the rim, the guy dunks and throws. I mean, dunk the basketball. I don't know how many times. I mean, he's brutal. He's the worst with that.
He's got to lead the country in missed layups, that guy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Hey,
it really is.
You have a metric on that? Yeah. I'd love to see the metric on that. He has to be number 1.
Oh, there's got to be data on that.
On missed layups around the rim.
Play-by-play at Purdue. There's probably a lot of play-by-play data on Purdue.
Isaac Haas missed bunnies, which means he's not getting any chocolate for Easter. There you go.
He seems like a nice kid, but he just seems like does he have any idea at times what he's doing? It seems like.
Does he know that he's 7'2"?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. He killed Michigan the last time they played, so.
Yeah. But he's way bigger than everyone else. It's like, get him the ball and tell him to dunk the basketball around the rim. But yeah, I think the train stops here for Xavier. They always seem to win a game in this tournament, and they did that. So time to go away. Middle Tennessee, Butler, and if you go on SBR odds, which I use pretty frequently to find my odds, there's some 3.5s, but there are also some 4s out there. Bookmaker, Bet DSI, Just Bet. There's a couple 4s. Look, on the surface, I would imagine this game is pretty close. If you look at Middle Tennessee, I think, and from what I understand, their goal is to be, in a way, what Butler is now. They're trying to build up this program. And, I think overall the general view around this program. For many that don't know, and I know, Drew, you live in that area. I did some research on Middle Tennessee. They're a commuter school, so they don't have a lot of full-time students. They may live in Nashville or somewhere else. And up until last year, there wasn't a great athletic. They didn't really have a lot of support around their program. But after beating Michigan State, and they're kind of there's more proud students around this program, and they've kind of turned into a really nice power that no one wants to play down in Tennessee. Bryce Drew was quoted as saying they wouldn't do that again going there, and they win a game. They really look like a very good team. Butler. They haven't done much for me lately. I thought they could be a team that could make a run in this tournament. I think they're pretty well coached, but it's hard to jump in front of Middle Tennessee right now.
Yeah, big man. And just to piggyback on what you were saying, like if you watch their football games, man, their stadium is empty. And it's in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And you're right. It's just a lot of people I guess they don't live in Murfreesboro. But yeah, I mean, this is the one game that was bet under on the total. It's down to 139.5. And yeah, 3.5s and 4s. So make sure to line shop in this game. And I would tell you, and what I'm looking to do is buy on the 4s. And so make sure you check out SBR odds, and we got it in Greek, but looks like Heritage, Pinnacle, 5 dimes, all still at 3.5. So yeah, it's Middle Tennessee or pass for me.
Yeah, I've been saying giddy up on Middle Tennessee State for weeks now. So this is a one-way game for me. I'm not stepping in front of the Blue Raiders. And I think in regards to Drew's point about this game getting some underplay, they play better defense than people think. This Blue Raiders team, very good defensive team. Obviously, we know they've got the shooters as well. Guys that can absolutely score the basketball. Giddy Potts, Ja'Cory Williams, Reggie Upshaw, no doubt about it. But they play better defense than I think people understand. Butler got through Winthrop. Winthrop's not a very good defensive team. Winthrop's not very big in the backcourt. I don't think is good in the backcourt. Going to be a much taller order for Butler. I'd be looking to take points with the dog here or nothing at all.
Yeah, Middle Tennessee comes across, I know Ja'Cory Williams, a tough kid. You're really kind of a bruiser down low. Butler comes across to me as a little bit more of a finesse, softer type of team. And again, I don't want to say they're soft, but they are. I mean, kind of to me. I think they are. And I think Ja'Cory Williams might have a big day. He's had a great year, and he's really been kind of a redemption story. He was kicked off Arkansas's team. He went and found a home at Middle Tennessee, and he's played fantastic. Donnie, Ed, any opinion on this game?
Yeah, with the Middle Tennessee State game, I mean, Drew just brought up a good point there, which, completely got me off track. He mentioned Middle Tennessee State football, and immediately I start thinking about Stockstill, Richie James Jr. I'm ready to just start to get into football season. But
how about that performance in that bowl game, Donnie? That was
hey, look, let's get some Conference USA football talk right now. That'd be great. But anyway, back to the point. Middle Tennessee State here, I just like the way they've been riding high the entire season. It's one of those teams, again, that they're built for this type of game versus Butler. It's not a game that's going to push them out of tempo. Two similar teams here. I think they have the pedigree to go head-to-head with Butler. I would look at taking the points here in this one.
Sure. Ed, any opinion?
Man, my number line's right up at 4, so
yeah.
Numbers.
I think it's definitely kind of right there. I mean, I think the points are fair in this one. But again, I mean, Middle Tennessee's been a very public side this tournament, and I'd imagine they would be again today. So we'll see. Yeah, it should be a great game.
One thing I want to point out, too, just before we move on to the next game quickly, the poise on this team has really impressed me. Early deficit to Minnesota, no problem. They wipe it out, take a big lead. Minnesota makes a furious run when Middle Tennessee has that big lead. No problem. They put a stick of cork in it, and they pull away again late down the stretch. They responded to adversity twice in that basketball game. It's a good sign for that team moving forward.
Yeah, amen. Iowa State, Purdue. Purdue at a pick 'em. Guys, I will admit, I don't know how good Iowa State is. I think they were lucky. I don't know. I'm not really sure why in that Nevada game, the game plan for Nevada was totally off. I don't understand why you would run there with Iowa State. That doesn't make much sense to me. That game really wasn't close. They jumped out. Iowa State again, though. I mean, I think they had a little bit of good luck going to that Big 12 tournament. Purdue's a different animal. Clearly, you have to prepare for both those two down low. I think Swanigan will be more involved in this game. He was kind of quiet in the first game, and Vermont played well. Vermont was really good in that game. I think we all know Vermont was a good basketball team, and I think Purdue's guards. I know even me, I've given them a little flack this year, but they're pretty good. Vince Edwards is a good player as well. I'll be honest. I think Purdue's a pretty good play here. I'll admit that. I'll give that out. Purdue's probably going to be on my card. I'm just not a believer in Iowa State. I think at some point they're going to face a team, and today like Purdue, that is going to punch them in the mouth. I don't think Iowa State's that good a basketball team. I think they've had some good draws and some luck along the way here.
It should be a great game. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but I'm going to make the case for Iowa State here in this game. I've liked this team for a while now. Monte Morris, the point guard, Nazmid Drulong, Matt Thomas, seniors that are playing red hot right now. Very impressive showing against a very good Nevada basketball team. The size is definitely a concern. Rebound in the basketball, you worry this could be volleyball on the backboard for Purdue all game long with their size. That could be a problem for Iowa State in the post. But if that perimeter game is working for Iowa State, and we have seen Purdue at times give up some three-point looks, especially in that Vermont game. Vermont hit some threes early in that game. Well, Iowa State's going to be able to do that at a much higher clip if they're not better with their perimeter defense. Look, I've been backing Iowa State several times in the Big 12 tournament down the stretch in the regular season. They've been more than good enough, and they've proven it more than once to the point now where I can only look Iowa State in this game. Not sure yet if I will, especially with Iowa State money trickling in on them, but it's Cyclones or pass for me. And I think they're a smarter basketball team, and I argue that Prom might outcoach Painter. Painter's got to show me something more than he's shown me so far. Painter, to me, in the tournament has more proving ground to do for me. I got to see it. I'll believe more in Purdue if they win this game, but that's a big if in my book.
Anyone? How do you go after that, man? How do you go after Ian Cameron?
Yeah, I will say I'll actually attack him here. I'm gonna go at Ian Cameron. You want to battle in this one? I'll go at you in this one.
30 seconds, go.
Purdue's 32. They defend the three very well. 32% here. I mean, again, I know they didn't close out well against Vermont. I noticed that as well. They were very slow in closing out and allowed Vermont to have some open looks. But Swanigan didn't play well. Haas missed a ton of open looks, and they still won by double digits here. Iowa State, again, had some good luck. I mean, we can agree, without Kansas suspending their best player, they probably would have played Iowa State in semifinals and probably would have lost. They played a Nevada team whose coach, for whatever reason,
Didn't they win at Fog Allen, big man? Didn't they win at Fog Allen, this team?
Yeah, I hear you. But again, we'll move on to the playoffs here, the tournament. It's time to move on, right, Ian? But again, yeah. Look, I hear
you. Very got to go head to head once in a while, yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Plus, defensively, Iowa State, I don't think is as good as Purdue. It's going to be a battle. It's a pick 'em for a reason, but I think Purdue's a very good play here. Anyone else?
Guaranteed winner on the SBR round table. Someone's going to win that game.
Right.
Sheets of man. People need to call big man out. He can't do this. Well, all right. I guess we all have haters out there, right? Anyone else have anything on this? Donnie?
I mean, if you just look at Purdue as the whole, the one thing that Purdue has the advantage of is the size with Caleb Swanigan. The one thing I like Iowa State coming in hot. Every one of their players can score, especially from the perimeter. The one thing I do like when you go up against Purdue is I need somebody that's going to battle Swanigan, not to dominate him because he's usually the better player 9 out of 10 times, but just maybe to keep him occupied, keep him active, maybe get some fouls on him. Nobody's going to be able to battle him down low. He's going to pretty much do whatever he wants. As long as Purdue is smart and keeps throwing the ball and playing an inside-outside game, they should be able to win this game. But, hey, I've seen it a lot. Best player on the court not getting his touches because some of the guards are just chucking up threes. But, again, I just don't like the matchup from Iowa State's point of view. There's nobody down there that's going to give him any problems at all.
If Purdue plays smart basketball, and that's been their issue at times, they can win this game.
True.
But that's going to do not play dumb. If you're Purdue, you got a chance for sure.
Let's move on to the next one, guys. We've got a couple more here. Northwestern Gonzaga laying 11 over under 137.5. Obviously, Northwestern got here from possibly the Fisher Davis miscue. But look, they got here, and that's all that matters. Can they take down Gonzaga? Can they do it?
No.
Nope. I'll leave it at that.
Sorry, Brent Musburger. Sorry, Elaine from Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Hi, I'm Elaine from Seinfeld. I'm on camera 10 times every game.
Well, her
you were
son
great in
does
Seinfeld,
go.
but let's go.
Her son does play for the team. Let's remember, but I agree they do show her too much.
How many screenshots today for Doug Collins today?
I'll go over under at 6.
And 50, and I'll put 2-1 odds that he is crying at some point in this game.
Is that when they're down 20 and they just
either way, up 20 or down 20, there's still good odds he's crying.
I mean, I think this Northwestern team, I think they're a good, solid tournament team. I mean, what Collins has done there is amazing. I think this team can really play defense at times, but Gonzaga is an elite team. I think they're one of the top 4 teams in this tournament. It's just not one of the ones I see going down. I did have this argument with some people last night. How often does a 1 seed fail to make the round of 32? You guys want to give me a percentage?
I would.
I said they miss about once every other. Yeah. I say they miss about once every 2 years. And that actually.
When was the last time?
Sorry, go ahead.
Wichita State.
Yeah, Wichita.
I was just going to say, when was the last time? Yeah.
Yeah, Wichita State. There was the last time the tournament that chalk was this dominant, like in the early 2000s. There was a year that 2 of them went down. UCLA beat, I think, a Cincy, and then there was another 1 seed to go down. But they actually fail about 13% of the time, 12.5%, 13% of the time. So, which is about once every other year, one in every 8. So anyways, I thought that was interesting. I do not think Gonzaga is the one to go down. Obviously, I think we talked about Nova. I think they probably have the highest odds. And, I mean, we make it to some of the other games. But that historically has been what?
Yeah. I mean, I just look at this game and I say to myself, what does Northwestern do that Gonzaga hasn't seen? I mean, I think Donnie's made a point to me before. I mean, Gonzaga, if they slow it down like St. Mary's, I mean, Gonzaga's seen that before. Gonzaga's just elite. I think we have to get to that point. Stop betting against them. Their offensive and defensive efficiency numbers are crazy. Look how they played in the first game. They didn't play particularly well. Goss and Kornowski had 19 points combined, and most of them were late in the game, and they still won by 20 points. Again, I know it was South Dakota State, but they didn't play particularly well, and they still handily won the game. I just don't think Northwestern's anything sexy, if you will. I don't think they're going to do anything that Gonzaga hasn't seen before, and I don't see any reason Gonzaga doesn't continue to roll like they have been.
You know what? Let's put that last Gonzaga performance, by the way, in perspective, that first round game. Gonzaga shot 25 of 63, 39% from the field, 8 of 30, 26% from three-point range, and they won by 20 against South Dakota State. It wasn't even close to their A game. And if you read any of the quotes from Mark Few after that basketball game, he said his team didn't play well. We didn't play even close to as good as we're capable of, and they still won that game by 20, nearly covered the number in the process. Look, there's a lot of room for improvement for Gonzaga. Offensively, they're not going to shoot that way again. I think you're going to see everybody shoot the ball a lot better. And defensively, I was impressed with what they did against South Dakota State. They dug in at that end of the court. 25%, 5 of 20 for that South Dakota team from the perimeter, 31% for the game. They dug in defensively. They absolutely rolled South Dakota State on the glass in terms of rebounding the basketball. I think the markets have maybe devalued Gonzaga just slightly here after that game just because of their shooting woes. I'd look to lay the points here, if anything, to be honest with you. I think Northwestern is going up against a class of opponent that I'm not sure they're adept to handle. They got their win in the NCAA tournament. They got here, which was fantastic. They went nuts for getting this far. They won that first tournament game. This could be the day where if Gonzaga puts that punch, Northwestern could show that glass jaw and Gonzaga pulls away.
Yeah, I'm interested to see when this Gonzaga team faces a team that can match them or exceed them athletically. And I don't really see that happening until the Elite Eight, really. We talked about the softness of this region. Florida State, Arizona can obviously match up with them athletically, but that's a long way from right now.
Yeah, I mean, since the Brigham Young game where they won by not the one they lost, the first one, they've been a double-digit favorite more than 9 times. I think you're getting some decent value here today. And again, I don't think, like I said, I don't think Northwestern is a team, and I don't think they do anything Gonzaga hasn't seen before. I don't think they have Mac Tuch's a nice player and all, but I just don't see anything that sexy that's going to make me think that they can come anywhere close to beating Gonzaga here.
Yeah.
Let's move on. One more here. St. Mary's, Arizona laying 5 over under 133.5. Donnie, why don't you start with this one? You like
an interesting matchup in this one. I mean, just looking at numbers across the board, I subscribe to a number of websites, but just checking out Ken Palm's website, he actually has St. Mary's favored today over Arizona. I don't really know if I see that. Obviously, Las Vegas sets a little bit better tone. They're opened up at 2.5. That number is sitting around 5 right now. It's an interesting game because if St. Mary's can grind you down, slow down the possessions, which they like to, and hit their open shots, 5 points might seem like 20 points in a normal game. I just think Arizona is a little bit too athletic to have St. Mary's impose their will on them. I would like to see St. Mary's in a roll. I mean, St. Mary's has seen Gonzaga 3 straight times, one of those teams that can basically play the same pace as you and just are stronger and more athletic. Arizona is that similar type of ball club. I look for Arizona to win this game, but that number is kind of high, sitting at around 5, 5.5 if you can get it somewhere. And if St. Mary's is on, they're going to be able to mess around with Arizona. But again, it's just hard to impose your will on a team that can just beat you physically.
Yeah, I mean, this line opened 2.5. It's been bet steadily up to 5. Obviously, that's public money betting Arizona. I think St. Mary's a pretty sharp play here, Donnie. I think you might be onto something there a little bit.
Australians will be out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a team that can take down a Goliath type team. Hey, they did it a couple years ago against Villanova. Remember that? Why can't they do it today? Any opinion, guys, from the rest of the panel?
Yeah, I kind of liked Arizona at the open, -2.5, but it got up all the way to 5.5 about half an hour ago. And finally, we're seeing actually some St. Mary's buyback now. It's come back down to 4.5 now, pretty much. So now we're starting to get some people interested in the St. Mary's side. And it's just not the right price point for me anymore to get involved with Arizona. And listen, Jock Landale deserves a lot of credit. He's a big man that has played big for this St. Mary's team. That matchup inside of him and Markkanen, not to mention Ristich off the bench for Arizona. I mean, that battle of bigs inside going to be fun to watch in that St. Mary's-Arizona matchup. I think Arizona, the way a lot of their players, Kadeem Allen, among others, have played lately down the stretch, Trier, they may have the better perimeter game. I mean, other than Hermanson, I'm not in love with the St. Mary's perimeter game, but I think St. Mary's, they played well against VCU. There's a big step up in class for them. And again, those step up in classes, I've still got to see it from St. Mary's in a game like this to really be on their bandwagon. So I lean Arizona, but I thought it was a decent number to lay at 2.5. Not so much now. I mean, I think the value pretty much gone at this point.
Sure.
Yeah, my number's like Zona by about 1. I think for the last week and a half, I've been saying that Arizona's a little bit overrated. I don't think Arizona is as good on defense as they've been when they've had really good teams. I'm not backing off that now at all. I can see St. Mary's with a lot of ball movement getting some really good threes, and if they can hit them, they will absolutely be in this game.
Agreed.
Arizona's got to show patience and discipline, Ed. Every team that plays St. Mary's, it's true. They got to show discipline because St. Mary's is not going to push the pace as one of the slowest teams in the country. They're going to make you defend every second of that shot clock. Arizona's got to have the poise and discipline at the defensive end of the court to get it done.
Yep. Arizona's not an up-tempo team either. They're flirting with a 300 as a 300 team pace-wise. It's only projected 57 possessions. So interesting to see this total up over 130. And you guys touched on it. It looks like a syndicate or somebody came in, and all the 5.5s are gone. The screen just went black. So Arizona is definitely getting bet with some big money. Or actually, St. Mary's the other way. Yeah, I meant St. Mary's the other way is getting bet.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Did anyone have anything on Notre Dame over? Someone's asking about that. I don't have any opinion on the total in that game.
At West Virginia, if they're forced to play in the half court, I don't like that game going over the total. I don't trust them to make shots consistently in the half court. If they're forcing a boatload of turnovers, that game can go over because that's how they score. But Notre Dame's #1 in the country, fewest turnovers per game. So I'm not sure that West Virginia offense is going to work.
Yeah, maybe you want to see how the game progresses, maybe hit it live, but I don't have much opinion on it. Guys, you kind of gotten into my shoes today. This is what I do on Saturdays. I just take questions all day. So great. Thank you for all of you for putting your opinions out there. We appreciate it. Before we go, guys, anyone have anything else to talk about any points you want to make about this tournament overall?
Yeah, I actually want to ask you guys what you think about Michigan State. I've been saying all year that this team stinks, and then I was watching them play last night, and I'm like, Winston, Bridges, and Ward. I mean, those are guys that are going to be either pretty good college or pro players in 2 or 3 years. So I don't know. I want to see what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Miami jumped out to the lead and then kind of just fell asleep. But Miami was a team I think we can all agree with. Miami wasn't very good this year. They weren't good offensively. They were lost at times on that end. But look, Tom Izzo, Ian, I'll go back to what Ian said, last roundtable. I mean, there's Michigan State just kind of hanging there, and they get into the tournament. But I don't know. I mean, they're playing well right now, and that's got to be important for something. But I don't know. We got to look at the bracket. Who do they have next?
Kansas.
Kansas.
Yeah,
they're probably done after last.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Nice
Give
run.
them credit. They may give Kansas everything they can handle. You never discredit Tom Izzo. I was with Ed. Totally with Ed's opinion. I didn't like much about this team, and I was waiting for them to flip a switch. It never did. Okay, they flipped a switch last night and blew out Miami, but they're taking a huge step up in class against Kansas coming up here on Sunday. But doesn't mean I'm going to be looking to lay the points with Kansas. I mean, Michigan State with Tom Izzo as an underdog, that's a tough proposition sometimes to go against. But I'd bet the no. And even lay probably minus 300 or 400, if not higher, that Michigan State will be advancing beyond tomorrow.
Yeah, this game is in Kansas City, by the way, so a virtual home game for the Jayhawks.
Okay.
Anyone else have an opinion on that? Drew, Donnie. No one likes Michigan State, I guess.
No, they're tough to break down at this point. I mean, if they get hot, the only thing I get a little bit worried about there is just everybody. Oh, Izzo, it's March. Take Izzo. I wish they would have got blown out last night, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, Izzo does outperform his regular season numbers over the last 15 years, but I mean, it's not by a ton.
He's a
so
great
there's
coach.
a little bit of justification for that, but it's not to the extent that probably the public would give him.
He took an early timeout in that game when they were down 13-3 in the first 5 minutes or so. And from that point on, it was all Michigan State. And he just took that early timeout when he sensed things were going wrong. And then Michigan State just dominated the rest of the game from that point. So he takes the temperature of the game. He knows what to do at the right time. And that's what makes him Tom Izzo, one of the better coaches in the sport.
Yep. And I just like those 3 players, the team's been bad, but I think those 3 players are going to be really good in a couple years, and maybe they can put it together for another game. That's my only thought.
We'll see. Kansas definitely didn't have any problems last night getting the job done, winning by 38 against UC Davis. They finally go down. All right, guys, that will wrap it up. I think we went through every game here, and I'm sure someone – I don't know if it'll be me doing content for tomorrow, but there are games tomorrow which will be interesting as well. Why don't we get out of here with some plugs? Donnie Right Side, where can we find you and what do you have going on?
Yeah, find me at DonnieRightSide.com, also at RightSideVP on Twitter, also an SBR contributor as well, doing a lot of content here throughout the run through March Madness. The one thing I do want to leave with here is I have a coronary in the NCAA. Every time I see a kid go to the line for a 1-and-1 or shooting 2 foul shots, they take a 3.5-minute commercial break. Ed, I don't know if you can help me out with some of these numbers here. The percentages have to be at least 20% off when they come out of the timeout. The kid always bricks the first free throw there. It's just, I don't know why they do that in the NCAA, but that's just my theory for the rest of the show here is I just can't take it anymore on that.
Money. Let them shoot the free throws. I mean, any other thing they have, let them shoot it. But it's amazing how they ice the free throw shooters in the biggest spots, especially on 1-and-1.
Yeah, I liked yesterday when Ben Moore was going to the line to tie the game, and they called some random timeout to look at. Someone was out of bounds. It was clear he wasn't, or whatever they were doing. He's right. It's all about money, I guess. Hey, guys, also feel free, if you're looking for a sportsbook, baseball's coming up. Obviously, with baseball, it's important to line shop. get on over to SBR, sportsbookreview.com. A lot of great sports books that they review for you. They do kind of all the legwork. It's all about you just signing up and playing with those sports books. The authority in sportsbook review. Go to sportsbookreview.com. We are back Wednesday, by the way, guys. We'll be back with another roundtable previewing the Sweet 16. I'll just jump in here. I am the big man on campus. I know people are probably sick of seeing me. I've tried to work as hard as anyone in this business. That's what I try to do. I'm back next week with more content. I'll be on with Donnie Right Side on the right side of campus. I'm also going to be talking soccer next week. I took it on the chin hard with fucking Arsenal this morning. Another bad loss for Arsenal. Their fans are not happy right now. I'm back talking soccer next week, guys, which is something you haven't seen me do. So join me for that. I try to work hard, and I know all these guys do as well. Ian Cameron, where can we find you?
Sportsmemo.com, on Twitter at Bobano. And again, we don't talk about Sportsbook Review enough. Sportsbookreview.com is a tremendous website. Sportsbook rating guide is key if you're a brand new bettor. You don't want to get jobbed. You don't want to get ripped off. You don't want to get screwed. You want a sportsbook that is going to pay you, that is reputable, and they give you grades on and reviews on every major offshore sportsbook. Sportsbookreview.com, live odds, videos, articles. They want to make you a good bettor, and they will. Sportsbookreview.com, and Play of the Day videos will continue on a daily basis.
Awesome. Yeah, you do a nice job with that. Drew Martin, where can we find you at?
I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets, also an SBR contributor, and my work's at Sports Memo. And just to add on to what you guys were saying, it is the difference between winning and losing. So make sure to have at least 2 sports books and be able to compare the lines, especially as we get further in the tournament. The difference between 3.5, that can go a long way.
Yeah, and it's evident today in Middle Tennessee and Butler. So, yeah, you definitely want to take that advice. If you can get an extra half point, a point. I mean, you look at last night with Dayton, Wichita. If you didn't shop around, maybe you got 6.5 or 6, and that was really the difference between whether you won or lost your game. I had Purdue.
Even the bigger spread games. Yeah, the bigger spread games like Purdue, Vermont. That one came down.
I had 10. I got a bad early number there, and it ended up falling throughout the day. And if you waited and had a good book, you might have got 8.5 or something. So, yeah, it's really important nowadays with these lines being so on point. Ed, where can we find you at?
I'm at the Power Rank on Twitter, and you can come by thepowerrank.com, sign up for my email list. I do a podcast. We'll be probably getting back into some NFL free agency next year. I'll be starting to think about college football preseason rankings pretty soon. And obviously the rest of the NCAA tournament. So thepowerrank.com.
Yeah, I'm starting to see some spring game talk on YouTube and stuff. So yeah, spring game's coming up. College football right around the corner. Guys, I'm going to take a little break for the next hour or two and just do something instead of watching basketball. I think we can all agree we watched a lot of basketball the last couple months, right?
Yeah, I'll be happy when Monday gets here, big man, and a little break from the hoops. I agree, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it's always nice to talk about something else or do something else. But thanks, everyone, for listening. As always, great questions, and appreciate everyone's participation. We'll be back Wednesday with another edition of the College Basketball Roundtable. We will have a special guest, I believe, Justin, if that's correct. We're doing a little crossover here at SBR. I'm going to talk a little soccer. We got some soccer people coming on and talk a little college basketball. From what I understand, though, he is a college basketball addict, so we should have another nice colleague on here to talk. So we're back Wednesday with the College Basketball Roundtable. Everyone enjoy the games and good luck.
Thanks, fellas.
See you guys.
All right, see you guys.
All right, guys.
All right, take care. Good luck today.